What's the most vivid nightmare you've ever had? Used to get sleep paralysis. Mostly standard shit crawling at the edge of my vision. But the really bad ones were when a figure I call the Screech would shamble into the room. Hood over face. Once it was looming over me, it would throw its hood back. Its face sort of looked like that creepy Momo meme that went around a while ago. Except even more pale. And it had no eyes. It would just loom over me and scream. Loud and very high pitch. Making my brain and body go fuzzy because my inner ear was under attack. Pretty fucked that the brain can do that to itself. Well folks, that's enough of the internet for tonight. I was pulled over by a female cop. Starts off normal, copying a cunt, giving me the business. But then somehow the cop has the head of a deer and we start flirting. Next thing I know, I'm making out with a deer-headed cop and she goes down on me. It's super hot at first, but then it starts to feel weird. I feel pain and a lot of wetness. I look down and the deer-head cop is eating my junk. Blood everywhere. I started freaking out and then I woke up. Straight out of a horror movie. Well, that's certainly interesting. Our alarm system alerts us whenever an exterior door is opened. The alerts are loud enough to hear throughout the entire house. I had a dream a few weeks ago that I woke up to the alarm saying, "Front door open." I fell right back to sleep. But when I woke up the next morning, the front door was unlocked. So it was either a very vivid and timely nightmare, or someone really did open the door and the alarm scared them off. I'll never know for sure. I'm gonna try to make both of us feel a little better by saying your brain just had one of those "fuck did I leave the door unlocked" moments in your sleep. Or you'll be looking for that priceless family heirloom one day and suddenly know what happened to it. That's what I told myself. But the hyper-realistic nightmares are the worst. I'd much rather have nightmares about my husband dyeing his hair blue and kicking our cat out of the house because he suddenly hates him. Which is the dream I had last night, that I'm 100% confident would never happen. I had a dream where I was experiencing two perspectives at the same time. I was the main character that was freaked out cause my dad was gonna catch me drinking, and I was also a spectator of the dream laughing at the main character. I woke up and instantly said out loud, "What the fuck, that's messed up." I had a recurring nightmare as a child that stuck with me just because of how often I had it. It wasn't terrifying, just upsetting to my small mind. I dreamt that Oscar the Grouch and I were in an intense argument. The topic: which of us was more naked? Me with clothes and no fur, or him with fur but no clothes? Apparently your child brain knew the real questions in life. I was part of the HR team Shutters. Oh god. I used to have nightmares when I was a kid where my dad would say he didn't love me and would ignore me. I remember one where he was a cowboy for some reason playing poker in a saloon and he wouldn't even look at me. Woke up crying. My dad's never made me felt unloved, but he's a truck driver and was gone for long periods of time when I was a kid, so I guess I had abandonment issues. A friend of mine told me a similar dream he had where his dad would look back at him in a crowd and just shake his head before walking away. Couple years after he told me, I guess I was missing him in my dreams cause I had a dream where's the same sort of thing happened, just with his dad, not my own. Then I saw him looking for his dad in the dream too. Super weird. Reliving trauma. Been there. So in one of my nightmares it was doomsday. The sun died, a very strong fire started, and the moon collided with the Earth's atmosphere. Pretty much 2020. My penis for some reason had turned into a piece of bacon and my wife was trying to eat it. Men or pigs. I had a nightmare that I killed someone and buried the body. It was so realistic that I woke up in a panic thinking about getting caught and going to prison. Weird part is I don't know who it was or how I did it or why. The whole dream was me burying a person and just knowing it was me that did it. My mom and I were in the car driving on the interstate. There's a bicyclist in front of us. My mom speeds up as the bicyclist tries to pedal faster but can't keep up. My mom runs him over and the bicycle goes under the car and catches on fire. And the man rolls and thumps onto the ground behind us. My mom laughed and laughed. And then I woke up breathing really heavily. The bike catching on fire threw me, not gonna lie. I know no one will probably see this, but I was around 8. I had a dream I was playing outside with my pink with purple polka dot elephant stuffed animal. Suddenly, the stuffed animal grew 50x bigger and it was alive. The elephant, now towering over me, picked me up with its trunk and squeezed. I woke up in tears. I've hated elephants ever since. Squeezed maliciously or with playful intent, we all need the deets, my dude. Naked in the library. A regular Thursday in Florida. Lying on my bed, ground floor, facing the window, and someone begins to slide it open. I can't move, can't cry out, scared and powerless. Can only make a whine that I hope whoever it is hears and realizes there's a person in the room. They're breaking into, or that my husband hears and comes to check on me. Wake up facing the window and trying to figure out why the window is closed. Took me too long to remember the window doesn't open by sliding it up. I was followed by a group of men and then stabbed repeatedly in the genitals by the monsieur. It was like I could feel it. Woke up sobbing. Got shot in the heart chest at a few feet distance. And the whole dream just paused and forced me to contemplate my imminent death in shock. Until I was jerked suddenly awake by the dissonance of the experience within what felt like 20 seconds. So realistic. The only time I've ever felt that I died in a dream. Monsieur, many dreams will have me being chased. But the dream usually switches before the killing blow. Or I hit the ground without dying. Etc. etc. Not this time. It was painstakingly detailed and thorough. And that was all the dream was. No background context, just shot center of mass. And died myself awake. Had this happened once, died myself awake. I always have quite freaky dreams. At least compared to other people I know. More memorable and vivid too. One of my worst, which still chills me, as I was part of a group of people running through a city. Trying to escape from some militia or something. And we were going along subway tracks. We climbed out onto the platform. And I noticed my mom was among the group of escapees still on the tracks. And she was the only one still left on the tracks when the train came. I remember me turning my head and screaming loudly when it hit her. And my boyfriend told me I woke up screaming. This one's a doozy, so strap in. The nightmare began with me waking up to the sounds of thunder rumbling. I was lying on a field of grass as gray clouds loomed over my head as it started to rain. That's when I noticed something was wrong. Instead of getting rained on, the water went through me. Like I was a ghost. I walked around and saw my family inside the house nearby. I walked up to the house and, like with the rain, went through the door. I looked to see my family having dinner. But instead of it being myself, my mom, my dad, my little brother and my older sister, the place I sat on was filled with a young girl who looked like a female version of me. Her name was even a female version of mine. I called out to them, but it was like they couldn't hear or see me. Then it got worse. My parents said the words I was terrified of. "Hey, honey, didn't we have another son?" My dad said to my mom. To which she replied, "I don't know, dear. He was the only son we had," she said, gesturing to my brother. My dad chuckled at this and went back to eating. That was when I realized I was having a nightmare of my worst fear, being forgotten. I broke down crying, but not for long. I heard the rattling of chains and saw who else but the Grim Reaper. He pointed at me with his skeletal hand and said, "You have disturbed the living. For that, they will lose all memory of you. And your soul is mine." I picked myself up and frantically ran out of the house. The Reaper close behind. I cried and cried out to my family to remember me, because I didn't want to die. But nobody came. I was alone and on the verge of death. I closed my eyes in the dream. and it was over. I woke up screaming and crying. I couldn't sleep for literal days after that nightmare. I've had dreams that stay with me for days like this too, man. I'm in my room and wake up in a shot. It's a panicking feeling as I look around to see the floor is on fire and a demon is slowly advancing toward me. The demon resembles a human more than you would think. He is big and dirty with razor-sharp teeth and long nails that look like he's been digging. I keep backing away screaming and it reaches out to grab me with his mouth open wide, making a terrible screeching growl. I manage to scurry off my bed and run down the hallway to a closet where I hide on the top shelf. For a brief moment everything is dark and quiet. In a flash, the inside of the closet is in flames. I start panicking again. It's then that the demon throws the door open and pulls me out in one swift motion. Then I wake up. This is a recurring nightmare I had when I was younger. My father murdering me. Oh my god, how did he do it? I'm not going to stop you, but I recommend you spend some thought on this question. I've had that too, but it's not outside my childhood experiences. Apparently putting a nicotine patch before bed makes you have insanely vivid dreams. I had a nightmare. You had no cake. Happy cake day! Exclamation mark. Thank you lol. I saw my death. Not a usual I died dream. Either. I had a stroke one day and died on July 29th, 2098 at 9:10 p.m. My wife had died 3 years before me, and my 2 children and 5 grandchildren sat with me in my final hours. I've got a history of having dreams that are as vivid as that come true. Do we have to keep an eye on that date now, my good sir? I think I can handle it. I'll write 2 versions of my will in case it happens or doesn't happen. Smart man. I was 5 or 6 years old and my mom said we were going on a vacation. I asked where we were going and she said it was a special exercise camp. I didn't know what an exercise camp was, but she wouldn't tell me anything else, so I stopped asking. When we got there was a giant barn-type building and a man standing up front. We walked up and he greeted us and told us we were going to really enjoy our stay. I looked past him and the barn building was filled with ellipticals, but upside down. The people in the ellipticals were chained to them and looked terrified or exhausted. Most of them were covered in dust. I said, "Mom, I don't like this. I want to leave." And she told me not to be ridiculous and it was going to be fun. The man smiled at me and told me it was normal to be nervous. At first I was too scared to run, so I just stepped inside the building. We walked to 3 ellipticals at the very end, walking past all of the other upside-down people, who were staring at us with wide eyes as if willing us to escape. I didn't know what to do, so I just kept walking. The man was watching us and smiling. I said, "Mom, this isn't right. Something isn't right. Look, all the machines are upside down. All the people are covered in dust." And she just said, "You'll be fine. Stop worrying." She said I was ruining the fun and I needed to just participate. And then the man reached towards me to lift me into the upside-down elliptical. And then I woke up. This would be my brain after going to the gym for 1 day. The world was ending. Everyone except me and some of my friends died. There was only a single field, about 20 cubic meters, floating in the void. We were in the middle of nowhere without food or water, just waiting to die. It was definitely a traumatic experience which still causes me to have existential crisis. I've had one very similar. It always ends with me staring into the void, questioning myself. Trigger warnings. A lot. Read at your own risk. Technically, this is a nightmare come true. It started out as a normal day. Monsieur come home from school, take out the dog, do whatever. Dad came home, which was the first odd thing. At that point, I realized the majority of the scene had faded away. No walls, just the floor and abyss around it all. My dad came storming over to me, picked me up by the collar, and starts pummeling me for no reason as I'm begging him to stop, telling him he's hurting me. It hurts. Why is he hurting me? Etc. etc. He doesn't. Of course. and eventually I see my own corpse. What's really effed up? My dad morphed into my brother and said that if I can be scared of dad doing that, I should be scared of him doing that too. A month later, in reality, my brother hit me for the first time. Same place. It felt like the walls had faded away because I was pretty sure he'd given me a decent concussion. My brother was a linebacker for football in his high school years, and I was in marching band. So of course I didn't need to know how to defend myself as much as he probably did. TL. Doctor. Seeing your own brother be #TU to a corpse and then having part of the nightmare play out a month later is quite unnerving for a minor. I'm so sorry you went through that. I hope you're in a better place now. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.